Hi, and welcome to the Sexually Empowered Woman series. And today I'm super excited to introduce our guest, Dr. Martha Tara Lee. Thank you so much. And where are you calling in from?
Singapore.
Where is it?
Singapore.
Oh, Singapore. Got it. Well, and first of all, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to meet you in the electronic world here. And I just want to share your bio. And you are the founder of Eros Coaching. Dr. Martha Tara Lee is a clinical sexologist who conducts sexuality and relationship coaching and runs sexuality education in Asia. Based in Singapore, Dr. Lee is often cited in the media as the appointed sex expert for Men's Health Singapore and Men's Health Malaysia. She is also the host of a weekly radio show, Eros Evolution, for OM Times Radio. Her first book, Love, Sex, and Everything in Between, was published by Marshall Cavendish in October 2013, and her second, Orgasmic Yoga, Masturbation, Mediation, and Everything in Between, in August of 2015. Wow, that's a mouthful. You do a lot.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, your books sound amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love my second book.
Huh?
I think the first book is the book that I felt I needed to write because everybody said get a book, and then the second one is the one that I really wanted to write.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you're gonna write your book too.
I am. I'm going to be writing the book on the sexually empowered woman. So this is all serendipitous. Yeah. All right. So let's just dive in and ask you the questions I'm here to ask. And I first want to start by saying you volunteered to do this interview because you said you identify as a sexually empowered woman. What does that mean to you? What does sexual empowerment mean to you?
Okay, before that, maybe talk about what empowerment means to me. Many years ago, I used to be involved with the only feminist organization in Singapore, and empowerment or women empowerment just meant being able to take back the power that has always been ours. So it's almost like you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So we don't realize that we don't take on the power that we have, that is always ours, and we don't know until we know what it really means and what it looks like. So to me, sexual empowerment means really understanding fully what it means to be a sexual person and being able to really fully claim it and live it.
Got it.
That's what it means to me.
Yeah, great. And how does that show up in your life? Like, what area of your life does that, having that sexual empowerment, how does that impact your life?
For now, because I'm also a sexologist and I have done a lot of work on understanding human sexuality and also understanding it for myself. So I am quite conscious about being in relationship with my sexuality and practicing expressing my sexuality, even if it's by myself. And this means being comfortable talking about sex and sexuality with my friends and people around me, expressing my sexuality in terms of the way I look, the way I dressed, and also, I don't have a partner right now, how I express my sexuality by myself through solo sex, masturbation, and feeling good in my body, even the food that I eat. All these are part of me being fully sexually empowered.
Got it. So it sounds like the motivation to take care of your body and eating well and speaking up about your desires and feeling more, you didn't say this, but it sounded like just feeling more confident in your body and even like the way that you dress and the way you are openly talk about sex with others. Yeah. Cool. And so, go ahead.
Yeah. It took me a long time to realize this because I have been comfortable with having sex for since I was sexual with someone. I was comfortable with having sex. However, I think it took me a longer time to really be comfortable with my gender role of being in a female body. I grew up quite angry and resentful about being born a woman, even though I like being a woman and I identify as heterosexual. I just didn't like being a woman and all the societal and cultural messages and burden that a woman gets. The discrimination, the stereotyping, the women should do this, women shouldn't do that. And really, it wasn't until the last 3 years, I would say, that I really fully embraced being a woman and being comfortable, being playful with it. And that was always, I thought, a sign of weakness. And really, I now realize there's great strength in femininity. And this is something that is slowly coming back to society, being talked about. However, in a lot of circles, I would say it's considered something that is irrelevant because in this world, why does femininity and masculinity matter anymore? So even claiming back my femininity was a big part of my sexuality.
And I'm imagining this is also the place where you were saying about earlier, you were talking about empowerment is taking back the power that was yours all along. But sometimes we don't even know that it's not there. So I'm wondering if whenever you were less excited or less enthused about being a woman, that's what you were talking about is
Yeah.
not being able to claim your power right there about being a woman.
Yes. So I wanted to be seen as a strong individual, and I just really didn't recognize how not owning being a woman also affected the way I appear. So I was not really very conscious about the way I dress. I was not very aware of sexual polarity. And the more I embraced it, the more I shine, the more I started to feel happier. So I know there are people who say, why does it matter? I don't know about them. It mattered to me.
Yeah, and what do you mean when they ask you, why does it matter? Why does what matter?
Well, there are people who say men and women can, this energy that we have, the masculine and feminine energy, it doesn't really matter. We don't need to be talking about these things because we are just bodies.
Oh, uh-huh.
Whereas I think you are naturally more masculine in personality or more feminine in your nature.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still areas of your life that you can explore. It's not about what society says you should dress, like, oh, girls should have long hair. Mm-hmm. However, it's more about how it feels. If you did explore having long hair, if you didn't like it, then don't have it. But if you like it and makes you feel good and you like wearing makeup and you like wearing long dresses, then embrace all of it. Mm-hmm. Don't be half minded about, is it me or is it not me? Explore it. Mm-hmm. And that was what it was for me, because I think I didn't like being identifying as a woman, even though I like being a woman. I just didn't like the way the world looked at me as a woman.
Yeah.
As in,
Tell a little bit more about that, because I only really know United States culture. I'm curious if Singapore has, what is it like in Singapore as a woman? You've said culturally you didn't like how people viewed you. Can you give us a little bit more color on that?
Yeah, because I'm in Singapore, and I think this is the only country in the world that has a lot of slimming ads, and we also take after the standards of beauty in Japan and Korea. So there's a lot about fairness. There's a lot about being slim and demure and looking feminine. So for me, I didn't like being regarded as a sexual object. However, I think in order to claim all my femininity and my sexuality, it meant really being able to understand this is what other people are saying, what does it mean to me, and what am I comfortable with, instead of hiding and not wanting to be seen and admired. Am I able to take on all of it and own all of it that makes sense for me?
Right.
So that was hard for me, because you go on the streets and you look good, you feel good, but then you get looked at as if you're just an object to be admired. I think that is the premise often of how you get to know someone. They first look at you physically, and it's up to you to prove that you are more than the way you look. But I was downplaying the way I look, thinking that you shouldn't be looking at the way I look, you should just be talking to my brain.
Right. Right, as if they should only focus on part of you instead of the whole being.
So that's why I was hiding that part rather than owning it. And it was also affecting the way I felt, and it was a big part of my sexuality.
Yeah, so what was your process? How did you go from liking being one but not liking it and feeling and hiding that part of yourself to being this woman who sounds like you really own your body and your sexuality?
I would say that if I look at the pivotal moments of my life, it would include the way I lost my virginity. It was very empowering because there was a lot of love and communication, and really coming to understand how beautiful, wonderful sex can be. So that really attributed to me becoming sexually empowered. And then I married this guy, and one of the times in which we had sex, he was just telling me to not move and just lie there, and he said, don't distract me. And that was really a big shock, how sex can be something where the man tells you to just lie there and just shut up. That was another pivotal moment, even though it sounds horrible, because it made me really question what sex is for the man and for the woman. And it felt wrong. And yet I couldn't explain why. So after we broke up and I went through lots of transformation and inner work, I went to sex school. The Institute for Advanced Study of Human Sexuality, where I did my doctorate. And that really opened up my mind and my world, understanding about the whole spectrum of human sexual behavior that I wasn't exposed to in Singapore, being sheltered and heterosexual. You just don't go around looking for things that you're not aware of, because you just don't think about it.
Right, it's not available.
Like like for instance, people who are disabled, how do they express their sexuality? People get older, people go through menopause, or illnesses or diseases, how do they deal with their sexual self? So questions like that came up in sex school, which really opened up the whole desire to really own my sexuality. And of course, there was homework that I needed to do, homework that I thought didn't make sense, that I didn't need to do because I can have sex. But all that, bit by bit, layer by layer, it really helped me to take the power that I didn't know wasn't there, such as the importance of consent and boundaries. Most people just have sex, but they don't really talk about it. And I really started to apply those things that I learned, and I realized it's really changing my life, because it's not just about sex, really. It's about all areas of my life where I do need to be very clear about my consent and boundaries, and be very clear who I am and what I want. And again, those messages came up. Then I did sexological bodywork certification. And that was the practical component to my studies. And in my studies, in that program, I learned the concept of orgasmic yoga, and that is the premise of my second book. So orgasmic yoga really helped me to deepen my relationship with myself. It's a practice where you're encouraged to masturbate every day for 30 minutes for 30 days. And it's a practice. It doesn't have to be limited to 30 minutes or 30 days, but it's just a recommendation for sexological bodywork program. And at the first time when I was introduced to this, I was quite dismissive and I didn't see it as important. And when I broke up with my second husband, I went through a time of great crisis, and my friend told me not to shut down my sexuality, even though I'm upset and I'm grieving the loss of the relationship. So I really took orgasmic yoga on board, and I really applied myself to masturbating every day and allowing all the emotions to come forth through the practice. And it really saved my life. It saved my sanity, and it made me realize that the whole premise of being able to truly love needs to start from yourself. And that was also part of me reclaiming my sexuality as an empowered person. You think you know so much, and until you really do it, you don't really know how many more layers there are. There's a difference between knowing in your head and really feeling it in your body. And orgasmic yoga was the one that really helped me a lot. And because of this end of my relationship with my second husband, I also started to question a lot about the way I was communicating to him as a woman. And I started becoming interested because everyone was talking to me about Tantra. So I went and learned about Tantra and understood more about sexual polarity, and then went to take the Art of Feminine Presence training. And now I teach feminine practices to women. So over the last year, I have shifted a lot because I was very conscious now about really owning all of myself, including my femininity. I think that was the last piece that I really needed as a woman.
Wow.
All this.
Quite the journey. That's amazing.
I would say I have been through a lot for an Asian person, because divorce was still quite uncommon when I had my first one when I was 26. So I first got married when I was 21, and then I was divorced when I was 26, and divorce was quite unheard of. So I really went through a lot of shaming and guilt and judgment. I would say more self-judgment than anything. And then when the second time I felt I needed to file for divorce again, it really spiraled out of control, because I felt really very much like a failure and a loser, and I just can't get it right. And what kind of a helping professional are you if you don't even have your own personal life in place? And things like that. A lot of fear of judgment, because I'm a sexologist. So people hold you up to a higher standard. And it's very human to really take those lessons that I really needed to learn on board, and really look at how it applies to my sexuality, because I'm a sexologist. I don't want to be a hypocrite where I'm teaching my clients about being sexually healthy and happy, and I'm not happy. So I really went deep and deep and deep into myself each time, especially with orgasmic yoga. So that's why I meant earlier when we started the interview that orgasmic yoga was the book that I really felt I needed to write. It's quite a radical book, and it's just something that I felt I needed to share with the world.
Well, it's what struck me in our whole conversation is the moment that you said orgasmic yoga and the 30 days saved your life. That's profound.
Yeah, it really did, because if you have nowhere to hide, you just have to face yourself. Sex is something considered like an outlet for sexual horniness and angst.
Mm.
And you just get it quick and over and done with, you know. However, when you go into 30 minutes, it really becomes a deep experience and it becomes a meditation.
If you
This
have
is
no,
when you have to face all of yourself.
if you have nowhere to hide, what did you say? There, you just face yourself. You have you to face.
Yeah, you have to face yourself, your fears, your shadow,
Mhm.
all the ugly sides of you that, and you start asking yourself really deep questions from that place of confronting yourself. You start asking like, what do I really want? Who am I? What would I do if I wasn't really afraid? Like all these questions start coming up.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I'm really excited to hear all this because I'm actually doing the sexological bodywork training this summer. So I'm looking forward to the
It is going to be the most difficult training that you've ever taken in your entire life. And nothing you ever take will ever be that overwhelming.
great.
It was truly intense.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so I I realize that you being this person who's sexually empowered impacts every part of your life because it is every part of our life. And if you just could choose one area that you feel like has propelled you the most or gives you the most fuel because of this sexual empowerment, what area of your life would it be?
I think it took me a long time to realize that, oh my God, I think I'm going to cry. Um, so I have 3 degrees, and I think I grew up in this kind of society where in order to do well in life, you need to have a degree, you need to be smart, you need to get your degree so that you can get a good job. And so really owning all my sexuality, including my femininity, made me realize that I show up in a very different way. In my work as a sexologist, the biggest thing that I give to my clients is not what I know, it's not what I learned from my doctorate or all the other different certs and programs that I've attended. It's not. It's actually who I am. It's who I am. And they tell me again and again, oh, Martha, you're so inspirational. Martha, you really, I can really tell that you really love sex. You really inspire me to want to have that kind of relationship with sex. That made me realize that it's not what I have to teach them that's really the most important thing for them. It's really who I am. And I would say the thing that is the most important thing for me is owning all of myself, especially my sexual side, because my sexuality is a huge part of my power as a person.
Yeah.
Huge power that comes from within, that lights me up from within, and it starts to radiate off me, and it fills up my whole being. And that is the greatest gift that I can give, not just to my clients, but I think the people around me, to the universe, everybody. When I own all of that, then everything in life just is so much easier, because you know who you are. When you know who you are, then you will also be able to figure out what you want and how to get it.
Yeah. So it sounds like life flows for you. When it's you said easy, right? There's like there's a flowingness to your life when you're radiating and when you're empowered and when you're owning all parts of you. And it sounds like moving from the deepest core of yourself. Yeah.
That's right. People like people who are beautiful and confident and at ease with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to do that if we cannot own that part of us that is quite adult, you know, the sex part,
Uh-huh.
the part that is considered taboo and sensitive and we make silly and funny jokes about. If we own that also, then we show up in a very different way.
Yeah, I think that I felt you a lot whenever you said it's the most powerful part of me. It's my sexual energy. Yeah, I really felt that. It's great.
Yeah. So I know it's people think it's easy for me to say this because I'm also a sexologist, but I'm really coming to you today as a woman, sharing with you my pains and my journey, and how it wasn't easy for me to masturbate every day for 30 minutes for 30 days. Like, there were times I was like, why am I doing this again? So many times I wanted to stop. So many times I wanted to just be, superficial about things. And each time I just kept thinking about, okay, I want to have a better life. That's why I want to do this. And I think for your listeners, your readers, for their book, they have to realize that whatever advice that other people will be sharing in their book, for your sharing in their oh my god sharing in your book, it's not just as a professional, it's also as an individual. Yeah.
I really appreciate and love you speaking to your coming today to share as a woman, because I know that sometimes as a sexologist myself, I want people to see me just as a woman too, and that I have pains and pleasures around sexuality just like every other woman. So I think that's really powerful that you are sharing and showing up as your authentic, vulnerable human self. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your heartfelt stories and your journey with us. And if people want to get in touch with you or work with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, they can go to my website. That's eroscoaching.com.
Okay, great. And all your information's there. Perfect. Well, Dr. Martha, it was just so wonderful connecting with you. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. And I really appreciate your generosity.